This is my critique of my music called Arielle 2. Angel Amy is going to help me with it. Um, it's a 24-minute song. It's almost as if when you're listening to the music sounds like it puts the listener as if that listener is up against some obstacles, as if there's a kind of before a challenge, um, as if you're before having been challenged to do something, um, maybe fight a worthy opponent or face off against a worthy opponent. It reminds me a little bit about Jacob worried about Esau on his journey 14 years later after his brother Esau was going to kill him for stealing his blessing from his deceived father Isaac in the Torah. There's a sense of uncertainty about this music in a good way. Richard Rorty, the pragmatist philosopher, said that we need more uncertainty in our lives, um, and this music reminds me also of the situation where Orlando got himself into um, a wrestling match with the court wrestler Charles in the play by Shakespeare called As You Like It. He was much less experienced, um, and he was supposed to fight, and he fought Charles. He wrestled him, or because Orlando's brother commissioned Charles to wrestle him, but Charles was supposed to actually break Orlando's bones, but that never happened. This music is kind of like the mood before that wrestling match in As You Like It, the play by Shakespeare. So there's a seriousness to this music and a kind of worry, a kind of also preparing, as if we need a preparation, the idea of the emotions that go through one's head in preparation for an event in the future, which they do not know the outcome. Um, but I don't think we actually need to prepare as much for things we don't already or that we don't know. Um, being set up against a rival, maybe even a rival lover, or like rivals like Satan and God in Milton's Paradise Lost, um, which is an uneven match. This music kind of reminds me of. But also, even speaking of wrestling in the Torah, Jacob with the archangel, with the anonymous angel, um, who he had no preparation. It just kind of happened that he started wrestling this angel in the middle of the night and up until the morning. Um, there's an organ sound in this music. There's a kind of questioning that's going on that's constant. The music asks many kinds of different questions. It's not exactly like an idiot questioner either, like from William Blake, um, but it might be a little bit like Hamlet's "to be or not to be." That is the question, um, soliloquy, which it's not actually a suicidal contemplation by Hamlet. To be or not to be, that is the question. It's actually kind of more ironic. Um, and then I think of my own work where I say a pretty knowledge pudding later after a kind of questioning. And to an end without questions, worse than I, the end of one of my poems. Worse than means wrestle. So to an end without questions, worse than I. That's from Hawaiian Science, one of my favorite poem books of my own. Um, if this music has a kind of questioning, there's also a kind of inquiry, but there's no end to inquiry, says Richard Rorty, and this relates back to the idea of uncertainty, and how, and our need for it, and more uncertainty in our lives, so that we're better off being uncertain. Why? Because it helps us get us skeptical if we are really doing harm to others or not. So we have that awareness. If we always were certain on everything, then we might be blind to the fact that we might be hurting other people. So he's being concerned about how we treat other people. It's a kind of anxiety music, but in a good way. The strength is of the listener might be uncertain, but the music is good. It's a representation of that worry in the music. Life, that life may be even over soon. That kind of meditation on a possible death to come soon. Death, which poets fear the most out of all humans, um, because poets always have their work still to do. um, I think of the line, Death lays his icy hand on kings. Only the actions of the just blossom and smell sweet in the dust, by James Shirley in his poem Dirge. It's a challenge to self question yourself, to think. There's a possible lack of complete confidence, um, a complete sense of confidence that's represented in this music. And it sounds a little bit far eastern at times, some of its melodies. Far off, there's a far off place, so that the listener, um, thinking of the music doesn't seem quite at home.